Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this is going to be my worst books of 2023. Now, I want to just make this kind of disclaimer of these are just my worst books. There's only 6 on here. 3 are DNFs, 3 are books that I gave 3 stars. And if some of these books are your favorites, great, that is amazing. I love that for you. They just didn't work out for me for whatever reason, but that is okay. Reading is subjective. Some of these I might try again in the future, just to see if I enjoy them better a second time around. But let's just jump in. We'll start first with the 3 books that I gave 3 stars, and then we'll move on to the 3 books I DNF'd. So the first one is Syonic by Brandon Sanderson, which I actually own, but I was just too lazy to grab. This is the 3rd book in the Skyward series, and I'm not really going to explain these books into a lot of details, but it is like a young adult sci-fi, and this just fell very flat for me because it was very drawn out and had details that pretty much felt unnecessary. Like the entire book felt like it could have been at least 100 pages shorter. It could have honestly have been a novella in the like Skyward Flight novellas, because in between book 2 and book 3 in this series there's this like a book of 3 novellas. This honestly could have been one of those novellas. Just made it that, or like split the novellas things into 2 type thing, have 2 novellas and then 2 novellas. It could have honestly been a novella. I did not care about anything going on, but I still give it 3 stars because I do like the characters, and I am excited to see where the 4th book goes, which I just need to read it eventually. But yeah, it just didn't hit it for me. Next is Gilded by Marissa Meyer, which is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. And this I originally read for the Recreate Books book club that is created by Ashley from Ashley's Media Addiction. And I actually, technically I DNF'd this for the live show, but then I was convinced to just continue on, like, because there were some things that like I heard in the live show that I was like, okay, like that is interesting, but ultimately it still was just a 3 stars. And honestly, I could have kept it DNF'd and been happy with it. I did like the second one a little bit more, but I only read it so that I could do it for the live show. And while I enjoyed the second one more, this first one, it kind of felt like it was too long, too, what's the word? Like underdeveloped of like some of the things that you were like, what? And it just didn't, I just didn't vibe with it, which sucks. Next is The Vanishing by Carla Nicole, which is the 2nd book in the Lauren Less series, and this felt very unnecessary. I felt like the 1st book wrapped up really nice, so this like 2nd book was just adding drama, adding things that weren't necessary, and kind of setting up the 3rd book, which I have no interest in it. I have no interest in, because I just have no interest in the characters, so I'm just like, I'm not reading the 3rd book. But this one, it just was like, I read it because I really liked the 1st book. I liked the characters, I liked the way it went, but in this one it was just kind of very like, it was either extremely mundane or extremely like, why is this a plot? We don't need this. Like, it doesn't add much to the storyline that was already created. So it felt like the author just had an idea and was like, oh, okay, like I'll do this, and then didn't know where they were going for a little bit of it, and then veered back onto the course. So I just didn't vibe with it. Now on to the 3 books that I DNF'd. The first one, literally, I think was like the first or 2nd book I read in 2023 that I DNF'd, and that was Hooked by Emily McIntyre, which really, it shocked me that I didn't like this because I love dark retellings, and this is a like Hook and Wendy story. And I thought when I first heard about that, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna love this. This is exactly what I'd want. I could not stand anything with it. I couldn't stand either of our main characters. I couldn't stand the side characters. I couldn't stand the plot, and I don't know why. Like, I wanted to love this, and I didn't. And, I mean, I'm not alone with it. My friend Clint over at Reads Readers did not also like it, and I'm like, when in doubt, we usually are on like a similar wavelength with books, besides like a couple. Like, there's some that like were polar opposites, but there's a lot of them we're like the same with, and he did not like it. And honestly, he was like, yeah, don't bother finishing it. And I was like, okay, cool, not gonna. So I DNF'd it. I might try to reread it at some point, but I don't know. The next book I DNF'd was Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a like epic fantasy of sorts. It's very popular. I just couldn't wrap my head around everything. This year in 2023, I did kind of fall into a fantasy slump of like fantasies were taking me a while to read, and I was genuinely not enjoying them that much unless they were rereads. So I think this is kind of what I read trying to get back into that fantasy mood, and then ultimately didn't. I think I had just come off of finishing the Throne of Glass series for the second time, and so I was like in that world. I was like, that's the fantasy I want to read, and this is just way too complex for my mind right now, like in the moment when I was reading it. So I DNF'd it. I did make it like 170 pages in, but it's like an 800-page book. I could not get into it, but that is okay. This is one I definitely think that I will try to reread, but I think I might try to do the audiobook alongside the physical book, because maybe the audiobook might help, but I'm not sure. I'll definitely wait until I'm out of my fantasy slump before I even consider doing that, because that would just be a recipe for disaster. And the final book I DNF'd was A Duel with the Vampire Lord by Elise Kova, which I decently enjoyed the first two books in this series. It's the third book in the Married to Magic series, which basically they are like loose retellings, but with different paranormal creatures. So the first book is elves, the second is fays, and then this third book is vampires. And I just did not get the reasoning behind, because basically it's like this girl ends up getting almost like taken by the vampire lord for some sort of like ceremony of sorts, but I didn't get the reasoning behind it there, and plus I wasn't really connected with the characters, so I was like, I'm just gonna DNF this. This is definitely one that I'm going to reread and like retry to read, because I liked a little bit of it, but I just was like, I'm wasting my time reading something that I'm not going to fully enjoy right now, because I know that I will enjoy it. It's just at this time, I think I either was in the middle of moving, or I was either just about to move, in the middle of moving, or had just moved. I was not in a like, I didn't want to have to think when it came to reading. I just wanted to be able to vibe and just fill in the blanks that my brain forgot, and this was a book that I definitely could not do that, therefore it just kind of slipped through the cracks and ended up being a DNF. But again, this is one I definitely will retry. So yeah, those are the, I guess, 6 books that were my worst books. Again, these books weren't horrible, but it was just, they just weren't for me, and that is okay. I really hope you enjoyed this video. How about in the comments below, you let me know, out of my 3 DNFs, so Hooked, Prior of the Orange Tree, or A Duel with the Vampire Lord, which one do you think I should give a second chance? I kind of want to see your guys' opinions based on what I've said about these books. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel grow, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!